and welcome to Tuesday's tutorial. I'm Jane from Loopy's place, and you'll find me either here in my sewing room at home or in my studio where I have classes as well. The tutorials that I'm sharing with you on a Tuesday are based on the classes that I have in the community. So these are full tutorials, explain every step through the process. If you wish to, adjust the speed on YouTube and you can whiz through quicker. I hope you enjoy it. Without any further ado, here's today's tutorial. So this week we're having a go at pillowcases. So if you're doing lots of quilts, just you're going to give them as gifts, it's quite nice to do a couple of pillowcases to go with them and use the same fabrics. So I put together a pillowcase here. So I've got a different colour front and back. Just used the fabric that I had at home actually. So I've gone for this white on silver and an off-white on the back. You could do it all the same colour. Or you can use two different colours. The way that we're going to do this is we're going to have a flap on the inside to stop your pillow from coming out. We've got a nice deeper hem on the front side, and we've also using French seams. So a lot of the commercial ones that you buy will have overlocked edges. No, not everybody has an overlocked edge, and sometimes I think French seam seems a bit more luxurious a bit. So if you're going to go to handmade, then have a nice finish to it. So this is will fit a traditional UK pillow. Obviously different areas will have different sizes, so you may have to adjust the pattern to meet those needs. So this is the front. I've cut this piece 21 inches by 31. For the piece that's going on the back, that's 21 inches by 38 because you're allowing enough for the fold over. So the first thing to do is, on the fabric that's going on the back, you want to hem one of the short sides. So you're going to fold it over about 1/4 of an inch and then fold it over again. You need to fold it to the reverse side of your fabric. Folding it over to the front, you're reversing it, folding it over to the reverse. And that is so that when we finish doing our pillowcase, that hem, I'll go back into this one, it is on the underside of the fold, so you get a nice neat edge on the top. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to fold it over, press it, fold it over again and press, and we're going to top stitch that. Okay, so you can clip this if you want. I'm just going to make sure it just sits down in place as I go, and you want to do it as close as you can to that inside edge. So there's no need to, unless you're right off mark, let's go. So you're going to stitch as close as you can to the inside edge. There's no need to reverse because we're going to be sewing over the ends shortly. So just sew right to the end. There we go. Just cut that off. Now on the piece that's going to form the front of your cushion, again, I'm going to fold it over to the back. You're going to fold it over about 1/4 of an inch, but then you're going to fold it over again, probably about 1.5 inches, and you're going to press that There we are, and again we're going to do as close as we can to this inside edge. So we're going to stitch again, this time to as close as we can to the edge. There we go, and then I'll take that off. So now we're going to layer it up and do our first lot of seams. So we'll come over to my workspace and we're going to lay our fabrics wrong sides together. Throw it the other way. Just lay that flat and lay that on the top, line those up. Just going to smooth that out. So if your cutting hasn't been quite straight at this stage, it doesn't matter, we can sort it out with this line of stitching. We can, now this is going to be straight on my top one, so I'm going to use the top edge of my top fabric for my seam, so I know where I'm going. I can trip it back, and when we can do the next one, it will all be straight. So just folding that flap in, just make sure those threads are on the outside. And this is where you need just to adjust it so it's the same length as the front. I'm not pressing it down yet until I'm happy with where it is. There we go. There we go. And now we're going to clip that all the way around. So just going to clip the main bits first. Make sure you've got all your layers. But it's important that you remember to fold that down before you stitch, because we need this stitched into our seam allowance coming down. There we go. Let's fill in the gaps. So we're going to do the clip this down, and then we're going to sew with a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. So I'm using my normal sewing foot on my machine, not my 1/4 of an inch one. It works out that it's the edge of your foot, or my foot anyway. So if you prefer, you can mark your seam allowance on your fabric. So that's stitched, so clipped, so we'll go back to the machine. Okay, so I am going to reverse at the beginning and at the end. And on this one, I'm going to come straight off the end and start afresh. I'm not rotating the corner. I want to have a nice crisp corner. I'm not reversing on this one because this is all going to be enclosed at the end. I am doing the end bits just to give it extra security, because going to take a lot of wear and tear as you put your pillow in and out. I'm going to cut that off, and now we're going to trim our seams back. So I usually start with the bottom and then do the sides, and I'm going to trim back to 1/8 of an inch away from my stitched seams. Just be careful that you don't cut your seams. So I've trimmed all my seams, and I'm going to turn it through inside out. I'm just going to make sure that my corners are as sharp as they can be. So it's easier to do this as you go. So there we go. So fold it all the way over the top, and this flap we're now going to fold over, so it covers the top of our pillowcase. It's just so that we can get a nice seam, French seam, all the way through the inside of our pillowcase. And it's important as well that you're going to get a nice clean corners on this end. And I'm just going to finger press the seams to get those level and clip them ready for doing a French seam. So you may see in some patterns to press. I just find sometimes if you press, you can press a fold into it, and we don't really want a fold, so I tend to ease it out with my fingers and clip it. So depending on whether you're left or right handed will determine whether you find it easier going from the right to left or left to right. So do what you feel more comfortable. And I'm doing the top edge first, so I can just get those corners nicely and get the top of the pillow all lined up. Again, I'm going to sew around 3 sides. This time you are going to pivot at the end, and you're going to go probably just inside, just inside 3/8. I'm going to reverse. There we go. All the way down. You want to make sure that you're within, going to be covering up what's left of this seam. See, I haven't adjusted my stitch length because most of it doesn't seem to struggle going through the folded bit at the top, and you're just back onto normal thickness of fabric when you come down into the main body. If you're struggling, you could take it up to 3mm in the where the fold is. Okay, so we're going to cut the threads off. And you can see how we've got that nice finish with our French seams. So now we're going to fold our flap back. And I'm just going to pull it out nicely there. And in that corner, and we can turn it right way out. There we go. So I'm just going to push my corners out. So remember, you're not going to get as sharp corners on this because we've got our French seams inside, but they're not bad. There we go. So you can now press that. So before we go, some variations that you could do and some tips really. If you're making more than one, I would certainly recommend doing them together, because then you can make sure that you're getting the measurements the same, because you want two pillowcases that are the same. You could add lace to the top edge. I would probably recommend a cotton lace to go with them. It's probably hard to wear in, and you're going to do that once you've hemmed the front one, but before you start putting it together, because then the edges can go into the seam allowance. I've done one where I have quilted the front, and instead of putting a hem on the top, I've just put binding, and then you can go and make the back as we have here in the same process. So lots of different ways that you can make adjustments to it and to make these your own. Hope you enjoy them. I'd love to see them if you make them. Well, I do hope you enjoyed that. If you want to have a go and extend these and need some help, do get in touch. I'm quite happy to help where I can. Do make sure you subscribe to my channel, hit the bell below, and you'll get notifications when new content is added. I look forward to speaking to you very soon, but in the meantime, do take care. Bye for now.